audience, welcome, and thank you for being with us today. Recently, we're hearing a lot of words and terminologies which are very amazing and buzzwords like tech space, digital transformation, tech evolution, tech innovation, innovative projects. All of these are very exciting terms. As much as excitement it brings to the table, as much as responsibility it imposes, given that these spaces are risky by nature. Risk of decentralization or risk of extraterritorial nature or risk of data protection, etc., etc., etc. This puts lots of heavy weight on the governments and regulators to set regulations at the same time to keep the pace and to keep the freedom of which comes in line with the nature of technology, the freedom of creativity, the freedom of innovation. Another challenge which is imposed on the government, which is to keep pace with this fast evolving technology evolution. To answer all these questions and to know more about all these topics, I'm actually glad to be sitting beside esteemed panelists here to give us the perspective from government perspective and entrepreneurial perspective. Your Excellency, Haitham, I'll start with you, because I know UAE Reg Lab designed lots of regulations in favor of this space. How does UAE Reg Labs design innovative regulations to help innovative projects from one side, at the same time help the government keep the space of the evolution of technology?
First of all, thank you, Hala, for moderating this great session. It's really a great pleasure of being part of this, discussing this important subject. As we reach today the final day of the World Government Summit, I think we've noticed clearly main themes among these 3 or few days. Yeah. First of all, how technologies and AI are disrupting sectors, the importance of designing the future of governments, and the need of strengthening the relation between government and private sector and designing policies and regulations. Yeah. Today, you cannot truly disrupt a sector without disrupting the regulation at some point.
Yes.
So that's why our leadership established the UAE Reg Lab. I should mention here that the UAE Reg Lab today is part of a bigger umbrella where we can see UAE government efforts in modernizing, upgrading, updating all their legislations. That's because of ensuring having a great future for society and economy, and as what was mentioned by Her Excellency Mariam Al-Hamadi just now. Yeah. So before anything, let's see what's the why and the how of UAE Reg Lab. Yeah. UAE Reg Lab is a unique integrated ecosystem. It's positioned under the General Secretariat of the Cabinet, which take place at the center of the government. I think it's unique because it's positioned at the center of the government as it's close to the decision makers. Yeah. The Reg Lab acts as a bridge between entrepreneurs, private sectors, investors, companies on one hand, and between government, lawmakers, regulators on the other hand. All of us today know that innovators, entrepreneurs, they want to create new solutions. They want to implement them. They want to commercialize their ideas and innovations. At the same time, we know that government needs to secure the sustainability of its regulations, processes, procedures, to ensure a better life and to protect society and doing business in the country. The Reg Lab will allow providing a testing environment for innovators and entrepreneurs by having a semi-controlled environment where the Reg Lab will issue, let's say, a minimal viable license, which I call it a temporary license, where you can start implementing your concept and your idea. We believe today at UAE government that testing an idea can lead us to explore a huge sector in the future, just from a simple testing.
Yeah.
So my second point here is how the Reg Lab will enable innovations and inventions. At some point of my life, I was in private sector. I established some businesses, and we know that everyone knows that it's not easy to understand government, let's say, regulations, processes, procedures. We cannot make sure that our ideas can happen, can come to be a real fact or no. So, through the Reg Lab, three main things will happen: that you can test your idea, so your dream, you will see your dream in a testing environment. Then we can offer you an ecosystem where all parties can sit on the same table. So it's starting from the innovator, the entrepreneur, companies, legals, or lawmakers, or government entities. They are all here integrated in one place, thinking all together how to make an idea to happen. The third thing, we are offering a scaling of your idea. So, from an idea to a test to something to be implemented in the real life. And here we can see new businesses in the country that even can start here or expand out of the region.
Amazing. Sorry to interrupt you, Your Excellency Haitham. We'll hold on to this thought. We'll come back to you. But just for the sake of time, I will move to His Excellency Khalfan. Your Excellency Khalfan, given your experience in Dubai Future Foundation, and as we know, Dubai Future Foundation is a catalyst in setting policies and regulations and boosting and supporting lots of startups and entrepreneurs in this space. From your experience with Dubai Future Foundation, what can you share with us about the cooperation or the nature of cooperation with entrepreneurs from one side and the legislators from the other side, which can benefit this space?
Of course, thank you very much. Bismillah, أولاً I'll start with Arabic if you don't mind. سعيد بوجودي معاكم أصحاب المعالي والسعادة، وأتشرف وجودي مع المتحدثين في النقاش اليوم، ونتمنى إن شاء الله نفيدكم في خبراتنا. Your Excellencies, dear friends, thank you very much. I'm honored to be here with you today. I would like to focus on this topic because it's extremely sensitive and it's extremely critical in innovation. And if you allow me, I'll maybe refer to two stories today that happened and refer to one that happened previously. I was just now, and I don't know who attended the Elon Musk session. When he was asked, what is the biggest challenge and where do you see technological advances happen, he was struggling to answer what will happen in the next few years. And the reason is because it's really hard to anticipate where technology is heading, no matter who you are. Even if Elon Musk says that, then you understand how challenging it is. So I wanted to give the example of Elon Musk. I'll give you another example of another leader, Her Excellency Ahoud al-Rumi, who plays a key role in developing governments and in the legislation area. She was once participating in a forum held by the Dubai Future Foundation. It's one of our annual convenings to discuss future challenges. We do that because really we cannot shape the future alone, and we need to have a global dialogue and have discussions. We had more than 400 futurists coming to us talking about the future, and the legislation topic is obviously one very hot topic that people really want to understand. She was on stage and she said that governments and our government cannot catch up with the advancements of technologies. And we felt like there was a surprise in the room because UAE and Dubai are known for the agility and the access to government leaders. Yeah. So I think this was a message of humbleness and a message of reality that as agile as we are and as close as we are to leadership, there's no chance, as much as we are agile, we have super support from the cabinet. Haitham spoke about the Reg Lab, spoke about how accessible the Reg Lab is for us to amend regulations in favor of innovation. We have amazing support at a local level from the Supreme Legislative Committee from His Excellency Ahmed bin Mishar. So there's the utmost support. But no matter what you do, whatever legislation you have that works today can possibly not work tomorrow.
Exactly.
So it's not about you being ready for technology today. It's about you reducing the gap. So the winning governments will be the ones that reduce the gap between the advancement of technology to the innovations that happen and the speed, and I reiterate on the word speed. We are blessed with leaders here that listen, and this is what you need. And maybe I'll go to another relative story. It might sound like a broken record to many, but it resonates to us a lot because it involves His Highness Sheikh Hamdan. وأتمنى إن شاء الله بعد أخبركم القصة بالعربي لأن لها بعد مذاق مختلف. ولكن the story is His Highness Sheikh Hamdan had once, and I'll be very fast, I promise you, and wrap up with this and then go back to the Dubai Future Foundation quickly. But this is very important because it shows you how close our government leaders are. He once invited, or he asked us to invite innovators from all over the region that have contributed to innovation to go cycling with him. Casually, he said, I want to go cycling, and the reason was I wanted to appreciate everyone that had contributed to this innovation ecosystem. So we had venture capitalists, we had innovators, we had the people that contributed capital and the people that contributed innovation. And we were there at 8 in the morning at Nad al-Shiba Sports Club. His Highness was there. Around 50 or 60 people from all over the world that actually contributed to the innovation ecosystem. And before we started, I just went to His Highness and said, Your Highness, I just want to introduce you to people that have done so much on the innovation side to Dubai and the UAE. And he went to them and he said, I'm not here to talk work. We're here to cycle and enjoy our time, but I just want to leave you with one note. And he said, in Dubai and the UAE, anything can be changed. Now let's go cycling. That's it. And we went cycling. And then I got so many calls from people telling me that what we heard from His Highness is more valuable than $1 billion of funding in our innovation. Because no matter how much investment you have, the fact that your leader is saying anything can change, policies, regulations, can be amended to our favor, that's worth more than $1 billion for us. So we thank you for this, and just seeing that your leaders are that close to you is the biggest gift. So we at the UAE have a big gift. Leaders are very close to us. Now at the Dubai Future Foundation, and I'll close with that, we work very closely with innovators, with investors. We work very closely with Haitham and the Regulations Lab. We work very closely with the Supreme Legislative Committee. We work with startups from all over the world. And we try to bridge the gap between innovation and changing the mindset in government agencies to ensure that they are more inclusive in allowing procurement capital to not only go to the Microsofts and the SAPs, but also go to the innovators. And in order for this to succeed, you need agile mechanisms of legislation. And we've seen that in this program, and the Dubai Future Foundation plays a massive role in making those ideas come to fruition. And I'll stop here because this is a very important topic, and I know we have another amazing speaker.
Amazing. Thank you, Your Excellency. Thank you. Sachin, we've heard from His Excellency Haitham and His Excellency Khalfan about the initiatives which the government does, the legislations, and also the agility, the adaptability, all of that. Are we yet there? Are we not there? This is something which we would like to hear from an entrepreneur in the tech space. If you can give us, like, from experience, from the challenges you face, from things you wish to have, a best scenario, business-friendly, legislative idea.
Firstly, thank you so much for having me on stage, especially with both of you. It's a distinct privilege. I want to start setting the scene a little bit. So if we go to 60,000 feet, you've got to imagine technology is the sun. So on one hand, it shines light. On the other hand, it's a mildly stable nuclear reactor that if you get too close, you will get burnt. And we often put technology in one bucket or the other, but it can be both. And I think that's really important when we think about this nexus of regulation and innovation, because it's a double-sided sword, a double-edged sword. When I think about regulation, to me, it's always about buckets. I like to compartmentalize things. So there's a bucket for protecting income for the country. There's a bucket for protecting the citizens of a country. There's a bucket for protecting the economy. And there's a bucket for protecting sovereignty or defense. What's really clear when you think about these buckets is that regulation needs to work very differently in them. I'm not going to talk about defense because I don't have too much expertise, but to me that seems to be the one that you'd probably need to be like the most focused around tight regulation around, because it's around borders and control. But let's look at this now from the other end, right? The sun's light end. If we think about the future of business, every business now is a software business, from the people that run the Dubai desert safaris through to people that are running residential complexes. They haven't realized, but they're digital natives at this point. And if they're not yet, they will be in the next 5 years. And so as you think about where does regulation fit in this sort of particular use case, it's so important when we think about the future that a government wants its small businesses to be digitally native. It needs to use those 4 buckets in its favor. So for example, we've seen, especially in this region, we've seen governments use tax incentives to drive digital innovation, which ultimately fuels the future economy. A second sort of basket to look at, and you couldn't have this conversation without talking about AI and ChatGPT, so I'm going to talk about the elephant in the room. But you know, large language models have suddenly become famous. I speak to so many people in the last month and a half, 2 months, and people are using LLMs like they use the word Pepsi. And I find that really interesting because it's probably the most misunderstood technology, but the one that everybody resonates with. But here's the real issue with LLM models, for example, and again, why regulation is important. You had a place where every country has its space in the world. But then you had the internet, which suddenly connected all the data sources into a single network. People got a little bit uncomfortable with sovereignty. We created data sovereignty, and we sort of worked around that. Now you have LLMs, which can basically absorb information from anywhere in the world and regurgitate an answer. And I use the word regurgitate in sort of the most politest way possible. But this poses a problem, which is whoever has the strongest, most prolific voice or set of voices is likely to govern the data bias. Wherever these technologies are being built, whatever guardrails we're creating around the use of generative AI, those guardrails are also being put together by developers that have a bias. And so regulation is important in this space because if you're really going to have something that is truly global, that bias management is, is really underappreciated as a problem set. And then this goes to me, when we think about education, like another bucket, right? You think about the citizens, you think about the economy. We've had this mad rush, everybody needs to be a coder. I'm not sure if you guys have kids. I have 2 dinosaurs. One is 3 and one is 6. If I do my job right, they will never need to code again. And I think we have to start thinking about a future where writing code is not the high-tech space. It is our ability to be humans that is really the high-tech space. And I'm going to leave you with a couple of things that, as we think about the future, which is ultimately the profile of the summit. One is, I think, what you're going to start to see with technology is very sectorial innovation at light speed. And so, the work you do with the labs, the work with the Future Forum, to me is like the perfect construct where you have experts either side in a partnership to drive an outcome. The very nature of software is changing. We always thought about applications that existed for 2 years, 3 years. I'm telling you that in the next 5 years, this conversation is going to have an application. It's going to be created in real time. It will disappear in real time. If that happens, how on earth are you going to regulate it if you have a rule book to follow? And so we have to change from a rules-based approach to a thematic-based approach. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Your Excellency Khalfan, Your Excellency Haitham. So thank you so much. Please join me to give them a round of applause. Thank you so much.